Right, so I don't know what episode this is. I think it's 3, but we're going to hit it straight, very hard. So today we're going to talk about contracts. Now, there's people that are going to disagree with me, and that's perfectly fine. That's your choice. I don't really care. But for myself and people who we do work for, yeah, we have contracts, absolute contracts. We worked for a chap a while ago, and one of the things he pointed out, which is the reason that they chose us over another contractor for a garage conversion, was just purely down to the fact that we had a contract, a construction style or commercial style contract. Now, what I mean by that is quite different to what some people mean or sort of interpret, should I say. A lot of people seem to think that having a contract is, oh yeah, I'm going to have to get drawn up by solicitors, I'm going to have this, I'm going to have that. But there's also things, such as terms and conditions. But the thing is that when you send a quote over to a client with terms and conditions, they're things that safeguard you as a contractor or a tradesman or whatever job you're doing as a service engineer, whatever. But there's nothing that covers the client. And some people will argue and say with me, well, there's not. Again, I don't care. It's just I'm speaking from experience and what I've come across over the past couple of years. So whatever job we do, it could be a job worth 250 grand, or it could be a job that's worth £100. If they're very minor jobs, a couple of £100, it isn't too bad. We'll have our terms and conditions in there. And they're very straightforward jobs. But if we go up against jobs that have, from experience, they're notorious for variables, material cost increase, and you do a project over a span of 3 months, there's ways to safeguard yourself. You can raise a PO and get the quote from the merchants before you start the job, which helps. But sometimes, again, you've run out of bricks, for instance, you've gone over on cement or something very similar, and the prices start to increase through the years, and the merchants, you try looking around for something cheaper and you can't find it. There's a variable there, whose pocket does it come out of? It's a very difficult one, but again, the contract stipulates all of that, so you know exactly what you're sort of getting into, you know exactly what you're expecting. And as a specialist working in construction, you need to understand that contracts are there to safeguard everyone, not just one person. So a classic example, I'll do one from my experience, and then I'll also do one from a client's experience that I've worked with in the past, who had unfortunately hit a curb with another contractor, and there were just issues upon issues that they couldn't sort out. So for my example, very, very, very straightforward one. I'm not going to use any names or anything like that, but we did some work for a client. It was a commercial contract, and the job itself wasn't that bad. It was like, taking out some steps, putting in the slope, widening some doorways and things like that in the warehouse, and it was quite relatively straightforward, really good job. We then get forward, he then says to us, oh, I've got some additional works if you guys have got availability. I was like, oh, Christ, we're finished like a week early. I was like, go for it, what you got? So we had a look, and it was very much a straightforward ceiling that needed to be re-skimmed. And when I had a look at the ceiling originally, I popped my head through the tile, because it had like the like a false ceiling as such. Put my head through one of the tiles, and I had a look, and I was like, oh, that's not too bad. Just put my head around, absolutely fine. I then asked him the question, have these extractor fans, are they going to be disconnected during the job? And he said, yeah. I was like, cool. So as long as they're disconnected, we can, essentially get rid of them, or you can sell them, do whatever you want with them. We can board over the ceiling and crack on. It come down to judgment day, and I got to the job first, and the lads followed. And whilst I was trying to pull away this extractor off the ceiling, because he said to us it was disconnected from the main unit, and I was like, right. Before I did it, I had a look, and it was disconnected from the main unit, but there's a secondary pipe that was running for this extractor, And I said to him, I was like, has this been tested by an electrician? He goes, no. You know, we've just pulled it out from its main source. And I was like, right, okay. So I'll ring up one of my mates and I'll say, you know, Steve, what the hell? Like, what am I supposed to do with this? You know, there's an extraction unit in here, and he's saying it's disconnected, and I don't think it is. Anyway, he was round the corner working on a job for a shop. And I was like, and he was like, right, I'll come over, have a look. He tested it, it was still bloody live. So if my guys go and put their hands on it, you know, or try and pull the unit out, this isn't even the worst of it. The worst part is that the actual earthing strap on this unit, right, that was you know, it was conducting a charge in itself. So he walked up there, went to go test it, and it was going off before he even touched it. And he went, Christ, he's like, you would have got a static shock off that. Now, at the time, we had subcontractors. So as the main contractor, obviously we are liable to a certain extent. You know, subbies have their own insurance, or they should have, for a certain amount, but also it's our responsibility to make sure health and safety is carried out. Hence why I called someone who knew what they were doing. Anyway, we managed to get it all sorted. He disconnected it and we removed the units, and we could then crack on with the rest of the job. I said to the client, I was like, look, you know, these things weren't done. You know, the unit was still live. And I said to him, I was like, you know, you were there whilst we were talking with the electrician, and I told you numerous times, you know, that we weren't coming in to disconnect it. We were coming in to just do the cover up, because you said to me this would be done. I did not have a scope. I didn't have a contract or anything of the sort. This was all word of mouth. We did an additional works report on it, but there was no contract. He then refused to pay the electrician for his time. Now, it was a difficult one, because if he was there for 20 minutes, 30 minutes just testing it, I'd be like, cool, you know, look, I'll buy you a drink or something, and we would have sorted it there and then. But he wasn't. He was there for 3.5 hours, 4 hours, turning off his three-phase. And it just meant that it tied him up for like half a day, and I was like, shit, so I'm gonna have to pay for this. And anyone who knows Sparkies, they don't charge a lot at the best of times, but when they touch commercial, there's like a switch that flicks, and it's like, oh yeah, there you go, we'll just throw it up there. And although it's someone that I knew and it's someone that I respected, he still had to do a minor works on it. He still had to sign it off after to say, yeah, it's completely dead and all that other shit, because it was commercial. But anyway, long story short, the client didn't pay up. I paid for his time, and he said, look, you know, I feel for you. You know, you throw me a bone, I'll throw you one. I was like, cool, okay. So I did him a favour. I paid all what I owed, because he was working for another company. And obviously he was supposed to be on another job, so I had to pay one way or another. Another example, and this was from a client who was working with another builder before ourselves. They didn't have a contract, and I went over. She basically said to me, and I still, even to this day, I still feel like a little bit of this is my fault. But when I finish the story, you'll understand that I actually went away from that job feeling quite all right. So she had another contractor start an extension, and they were digging out the footings. Now, they were told by building control they need to go a metre deep, 600 wide, your conventional, traditional trench filled footings. When I got to the job, I'm not joking you, I stood on one end of this footing and I looked over at the other, and I was like, what is going on? It was like there's like a part in the middle where it dips, you know, into about 250 mil wide, and I went, shit, this is not going to be okay. They're not going to sign this off. And the only reason she called me up is because the guy took the money and didn't come back at all. Like, I think some people can take a deposit, okay? We take deposits and we take payments, but the thing is that I'm always there, you know, on communicating with the client, and it's all built on trust. You know, if someone throws me 500 quid and says, yeah, Sean, can you do this for me? And they pay me up front, you know, or whatever, they know they're safe. I've never had anyone have an issue with it. Some people will, some people won't, but I've never had an actual big issue. And the works always get done, you know, and there's never an issue with it. It still makes me laugh even now, because I turned around and I said to the lady, I was like, look, you know, I feel for you, because these footings are going to have to, number one, they're going to have to be broken up. I checked the depth at the side, they were like half a metre deep, and I was like, oh. She then said to me, leave it with her, is she's going to contact a solicitor, speak to trading standards, and get it all the formal stuff worked and get it all that sort of jazz done. And I thought, okay, that's not a problem. So I left her with it for about 2-3 weeks. Anyway, she called me back up. She was like, Sean, can you come over? I just need to have a chat with you about what I need to do going forward, and I also need you to price up the job. And I thought, cool, I'll go over and take a look. Whilst I was there, one of the family members came out and was like, "Thought I recognised you. We asked you to come and do the quote for the job." And I went, "What's your name?" And she obviously, you know, she told me her name, and I was like, "Gosh, I remember you. Yeah. We booked it in, right?" And she had to reschedule. So I was like, cool, you know, these things happen. We cancelled that booking, and I said to her, let me know over the next couple of weeks when you're free next. And I was away on a holiday, on a family holiday last year, and she sent a message. But then at the same time, I think this other contractor came in at like a lowball cost, and I mean a lowball cost. And she thought, yeah, brill, you know, we'll get it sorted. And there was part of me that was like, I don't feel responsible, because I can't be there in every way, you know. I try my hardest to do as much as I can, but I can't please everyone. There's always going to be someone who isn't going to be happy with something. And at the time, we didn't have any of the outsourcing that we do for like the office and stuff, so no one could take a message. I put my out of office on my emails and stuff like that, so like a lesson learned, you know, I've dealt with that. But anyway, yeah, they asked me to come over. I went over, had a chat, sorted everything out. And the first question I asked them was, have you got a contract with this guy? And she went, no, I've got emails. And I went, well, the problem here is that you can prove who did the work, okay? So there's a bit of communication. Obviously, I'm not a solicitor. This is not legal advice. This is my opinion based on what I see and what I've been through myself and what clients have been through and what I've been basically looking at on the internet, and I found research on it. And I know the Federation are really hot on it at the minute. They give out contracts to all of the trades that they work in association with, and also to the homeowners, you know, on their pre-buy spreadsheets and stuff, pre-buy templates and stuff, you know. There's a list. Anyway, it wouldn't really stand up in court. It was a bit of a tricky one for her to sort, and I know now, you know, a year on, she's still trying to sort it. The guy closed the business down. He is still living in Warwickshire somewhere. She didn't even know what his company was called, because he closed it that quick. It was just an absolute shit show. And she paid out, you know, nearly 47k to this guy to do the footings that he actually fucked up. And I felt really sorry for her. At the start of my story, I said I felt sorry, right? I then give her a cost to sort the works, because obviously she'd have to go through the claim, and she'll be able to get some of the money back, hopefully, you know. She then said, right, this is what I've got left in the kitty. Can you get this to a working standard, so it, you know, just so it looks right, it is right, you know, just so we can sort of break it into phases. And I thought, cool, I'll help you as much as I can. Anyway, I gave her the quote, and she didn't ring me back for like a week, and I was like, right, this is weird, because she really wanted to get going on this, and I just need to know what I'm doing for you know, over the winter months. So I phoned her up, and she answered, and she started having a go at me, and she went, you know what we've been through, you know, you're pricing this too high. And I went, I've priced this in for 2 people, so myself and a labourer. I've priced this in with no profit at all for the business. I was like, I'm trying to help you out as much as I can because I know you've been scorned. And it was cheap as shit. And I mean cheap as shit. I'm quite happy that she didn't take it now, because she would have expected that all the way for the job. But the worst part is that even when I was throwing her a bone, she was throwing it back in my face in every single stance, and I just went, fuck this. She was like, yeah, you know, you're an extortionate person to be charging this for this. And I thought, look, you know, these are costs what they cost. I even sent her the material and the labour costs. I was like, there is literally nothing in this for us. Like, you know, we are living our day to day. I put out the labour at a standard rate. There was just so much, and she just didn't understand it, and I felt for her. You know, I really do feel for her, because the times have changed, I think, over the last sort of 10 years, where you used to get an extension that was like 38 grand, and, you know, the cost of living weren't that bad. And I hate people who say that. I hate people who say, oh, the cost of living, oh, we're in a recession, we're doing this. Fucking, if the media said, oh, the world's going to blow up in 20 days, I'm more than positive that everyone would believe it's going to blow up in 20 days, because you believe everything that's on the news. Is there a recession? Don't know. Again, I don't study economics, just my opinion. But either way, she didn't really understand it. But then also there were things like skirting boards. Even so, skirting. This is the one that really got me. The skirting board costs. So, as a goodwill gesture, even on this job, I said to her, look, we'll plaster up the room, get it boarded, get it insulated, get it all ready for you, and we'll bang in some skirting board, just cover the cost of materials. We even got the cost of materials at trade cost for her to help this woman out. And she went, how much are these skirting boards? And I went, at the time, again, it was a while ago, I can't really remember every single bit of detail, but it was nothing. And even then she had an issue. She was like, oh, this is too much. I was like, look, this is literally just material. She didn't understand it. But there is a moral to this story. Every single job should have a contract. If you are starting a job with a tradesman, get a contract signed. You are not as a tradesman, they should be giving you contracts. As a client, you should not be telling the contractor to sign your contract or anything like that. So let's not get that confused. You are not there to give the contractor a contract for or scope of works or whatever. That is not your job. If you do that and he signs it, I can guarantee you he'll walk away from the job, or she. Yeah, he or she, or they. But either way, as a construction company, we will give you a contract, and that contract has things that cover you, things that cover us. It has the contract cost, the scope of work. It has a variation agreement in there. It has a dispute resolution section in there. You name it. There is so much in there that people love it, people want to see it, and people want to hold on to it. And that's how everything should be thought. I believe that business is run by people and sold by people to people, and we should always keep that trust and that relationship. But I always feel like if we have a professional relationship, it should be in a form of contracts. It should be in a form of communication and respect for each party. And that's how bond is made between people, and that's how work gets done to an absolute standard. So hopefully that's sunk in for a lot of people, and hopefully that's helped a few clients out that are pressured at the minute. If you're part way through a job and you're asking for a contract, there's probably no chance you'll get it. And if you do, you'll scare the contractor off. You'll think you're up to something. Just be very wary with what you're doing. Contracts are there to help everyone, and should not be used as leverage. They should not be used as a power position or anything like that. They should be used as guides. They are guides, they are templates, they are procedures to allow everyone to work together amicably on the professional front. That is the most important thing. That is the most important thing. So before you start works, sign a contract, read through it, and make sure that in the contract, if there's things that you're unclear on, just call the contractor, just speak to them and say, look, I don't understand this, can you explain it to me a little bit better? You don't need to get solicitors involved. If you want to, you can. That's fine. I'm not telling you what to do. Just my advice. There's nothing in there that's too speculative or anything that's going to drown anyone. It's just there to help people and to guide people.